Shehzad Poonawala, the charge against the BJP is that you're doing dog whistle politics. There's an election round the corner. You're trying to turn this into a Hindu versus Muslim issue, whereas there is nuance. The Congress is trying to make the point that there is nuance. The Hamas doesn't represent all of Palestine. It's a terror outfit. They are opposing terror. But the BJP, in the manner it's come out, all guns blazing, is seeking to lose that nuance and make it us versus them.
You know, Rahul, the other Ra that I really like on India Today, Rajdeep Sardesai, did a brilliant video where he called out the Congress's CWC statement, and he said that it was an act of appeasement of a particular vote bank because the CWC statement made no mention of terrorism. It only spoke about the Palestinian cause. And look, Rahul, let me just go by the data because you also say that we should talk on data. Question number 4. The Congress supporters, 41% believe that Congress's statement and stand on this entire issue is more driven towards vote bank politics than 39.7% who believe it's for genuine cause of Palestinians. This is Congress supporters which Yashwant Deshmukh has polled, not BJP supporters. Forget BJP and India supporters. Now let's go to question 1 and question 2, and that is a big endorsement of the stand that India has taken. Rahul, there are 2 categorical stands that India has taken. 1, on terrorism, there is zero policy for terrorism, zero tolerance for terrorism, and therefore we stand with the 1,000+ Israelis who have been brutally massacred by this terrorist act of Hamas. No if, no but, no condition. And that cannot be coupled. I'm sorry, Sanjay is a good person, but he's saying that that can't be decoupled with what has happened over the years. Are you then legitimizing the act of terror? Are you saying that there is a just cause for terrorism? That will be a very slippery slope. And secondly, the other issue is the issue of Palestine and Israel, which has had a long history on which India's stand is that we want a negotiated peace settlement between the 2 entities, and those 2 entities need to come to a conclusion on that in a peaceful manner. And we definitely support the legitimate cause of the Palestinians. And by the way, to conflate Hamas with Palestinians like Sanjay has done is the biggest disservice to Palestine. In West Bank, there is no Hamas. In West Bank, there is Fatah. In West Bank, there is Mr. Abbas. He and his ilk have been hounded by the very same Hamas. So Sanjay Jha and his ilk, actually the Congress party, by conflating Hamas and Palestine, are doing this the most disservice
Sushant
to Palestinians,
Sareen, what do you think of the differences we are seeing in the data between those who say they vote for the NDA and those who say they vote for the opposition? Amongst those who say they vote for the NDA, support for Israel much stronger than amongst those who say they vote for the opposition.
So Rahul, just as an aside, and I think that's important because I don't know I haven't seen the methodology, and maybe Yashwant can clarify. When I see on your 4th question, the Congress statement, when I see 54% of the people, if I've got the numbers right, claim that the Congress statement was appeasement, and out of which 17% were NDA supporters, and I assume 41 or something were India Alliance supporters. I wonder how this is going to play out in national politics, because this clearly means that there is going to be a huge support for the NDA, where 54% of the people consider this appeasement and only 17% of them are NDA supporters. And maybe Yashwant can maybe clarify the figures much better. So one is that. The second thing is on the first 2 questions, and I think those are very interesting. The second question in particular, because the way I look at those questions is that 76% of the people oppose terrorism. Right? And India's stand is that we oppose terrorism, because the ones who support Israel is 42%, which clearly means that they see this as an act of terrorism. And there are 34% who oppose terrorism but are, also support the Palestinian cause. So to my mind, this is almost, 76% of the people who are actually opposing terrorism. And I think this is a wake-up call for all political parties, to my mind at least. There are 17% who don't see this as terrorism and see that India should only be supporting Palestine and not be worried so much about terrorism. And finally, on the very first question, again, I think the numbers are very significant. If 46% of the people see this as an act of terrorism, which has created this entire condition. And 3% of them see it as a religious warfare, and 6% of them see it as a malicious act to spoil relations. Then it means a substantial majority are seeing it as an act of terrorism, and I think that again is an extremely
Yashwant Deshmukh,
instructive
is
thing
this
for politicians.
Israel-Hamas war likely to have a ripple effect on the forthcoming assembly elections? Because remember, the Muslim population in Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh is very small. In Telangana it's small, but smaller in these Hindi heartland states. Therefore, this is not West Bengal or Assam where it can become bigger. Do you see this have an impact, or do you think, while of course everybody is charged up and animated and discussing these issues at the moment, the impact on the Indian elections will be rather minuscule?
Well, I don't know if that will play out as such as an issue in the assembly elections, Rahul. But at the national level, I think there is definitely going to be much more debated. Voting is a cumulative exercise, cumulative decision. One issue will not make it this way or that way. But Sushant is absolutely right. In his assessment that forget about the NDA voters. I mean, one can expect them to be aligned on a much more ideological political lines. What the number which kind of took me by surprise was the number of people within the opposition rank and file who, first of all, said that it is an act of terror. Number two, even if they support Palestine, they said that act of terror is not good. I mean, that way. Number three, the number of people who see that the first official release of the Congress within the opposition rank and file, almost 4 out of 10 are looking at that as a minority appeasement statement. That is something which is has more political significance, if I may say so.